we've talked about music, design, and filmmaking, and how AI is being understood and applied in those industries. In South by Southwest, there's also a fourth pillar of creative industries that got a lot of attention, which is gaming. Word like Transmedia has been brought up numerous times in the conference. And for some reason, this word has become kind of a dirty word in the entertainment industry for some while, because it was often linked with the failures of those game-derived films or TV series. The miscalculations of producers naively thinking that fans would convert into revenue. Yet, we also have observed how some transmedia projects have successfully expanded the audience platforms and converted into commercial success. For example, Last of Us, Cyberpunk, Dune, Batman, or Star Wars. So, it may not be a bad word after all. It all depends on the execution. Besides the convergence between game and film, AI is being used by both industries to make stories more and more relevant. Games are becoming more hyper-personalized, predictive and context-aware, and films are becoming more and more game-like in that sense. We have seen different experiments, commercial or artistic, that are trying to invite the audience to participate in the narrative shaping, to decide what should happen to the protagonist, how the plot should flow next. When executed well, it gives more immersion and adds another layer of meaning and emotional attachment. But when not executed well, the audience would easily be detached from the immersion, and the narrative tree would become too complicated or too fussy. Sometimes a good story requires the storywriter to control the arc, the emotional and narrative arc. And hyper-personalization or context awareness in a way is decentralizing that control to the audience or to the fandom community. What's going to happen will be voted by the fans. And interesting enough, in some commercial experiments, streamers are also involved in the narrative shaping. Films and games would hire streamers or observe streamers how they might engage with the community. And the production might borrow ideas from those fan and streamers' conversation and feed back into the storyline, so that it might resonate more. It's not a new idea. TV series would do pulse checking and surveys to see how the market reacts and change the script for the next episode. But now, that decentralization of narrative control have expanded and scaled to a much larger audience base and to more granular detail. And when AI is involved, it's not only the current audience and fans that have a say in the narrative, but also the training data set would have a say, meaning the past audience and the past creative work could be influencing the story making. There's one statistic that amazed me most in this topic, which is the kind of entertainment that gets most of the watch time nowadays is actually game streaming videos. This is being understood as a new kind of fourth-person storytelling. Game streamers are not only being viewed as marketing channels, but they are being involved in the much earlier phases of game design and film production. And they get to see or participate in the narrative development, so that the production or the Hollywood executives can fine-tune the story that resonates most to the audience under the guidance of the streamers. In the future, films and games could be designed in a way that maximizes engagement in real time to the audience or gamers or fan base, and influencers and streamers. Not one-way interaction, but also the interaction between them during the film and during the games, like having more shareable moments or group decision-making moments while you are immersing in the story. It's kind of weird, because you need to be in it and then you need to step away from it and engage with a collaborator or audience. and then you need to go back to the story. This requires another way of understanding what rooting for a character means, or narrative immersion means. If story writers and scriptwriters controlled in the narrative are being so decentralized, then not only to AI but also other humans, what's the role of them? What's the future of storytelling? One idea being proclaimed is that human creators will become more like a moderator or a facilitator between those communities and also between AI and human. They are just like a curator and gardener or a tastemaker to train the AI, and also they facilitate the discussion and dynamics between fans, audience, communities, streamers, and the like. This role is pretty new to Hollywood creators, but it is a natural way of doing things for pro designers, and it could be even more familiar to game designers. Because oftentimes, when game designers design games, they are letting go control to the players and only leaving a seemingly free world with fun constraints, so the players can make their own decisions and have fun while playing. So, if we now borrow the metaphor of game design, then the future of AI creativity workflow and storytelling could be more like we design the right constraints and the right guide rails for AI and the audience or the users to play together. Creators will become facilitator to align objectives and to craft scenarios, what might happen, and plan for different possibilities, instead of generating a deterministic UI screens. And storytellers will create different kinds of story arcs and plot ideas, but all with a central core emotional theme, kind of like those story writers being portrayed inside the Westworld series. If you remember, the creators being in charge in the story need to train and fine-tune each AI beings and design a complex system of interaction and social relationship for the guests to play with. There is a very intricate balance between chaos and control, and that could be the future of storytelling and creativity. There's also another concept that we can borrow from the Westworld series, which is the idea of authenticity. Authenticity will become more and more important. And this authenticity have been defined in so many possible ways in the talks and in previous literature. It's fundamentally related to the agency part of the creative formula, the third component besides originality and novelty. Authenticity is the ingredient to the elusive human touch or the human specialness. When the world are going to be swarmed with generated content, when people are afraid that their jobs could be replaced, and creative tasks that used to be fulfilling to do by hand are now being automated, creativity could become more and more meaningless and less valuable. And hence, we might need a new way to value creativity. In the past, scarcity defined value, and in the future, when scarcity is no longer a problem, then maybe authenticity is what defines value. If authentic creativity will give stronger emotional response and have stronger cultural significance, then capital will chase after it. People will start trying to commoditize authenticity and authentic creativity. But this is so embedded into the human context, into the socio-cultural context, that are so difficult to be replicated by robotic processes, because it involves a series of complex feedback loops that are personal, interpersonal, social relationships, and communications. If something speaks to you, it could be related to a past conversation you have with your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. It could be related to a cultural tradition from your home country. It could be related to your grandma's recipe. And how could an AI be capable of having a richness of personality, of past experience, of upbringing, to create an authentic creation themselves? Maybe they could create inauthentic creation that feels true or be true to the AI. Maybe being robotic is their version of authenticity. But then humans have to be as robotic as them to appreciate them and to empathize with them. You could argue that under capitalism, humans are becoming more and more like machines, just as how machines are becoming more and more like humans. And maybe their aesthetics could catch up to our human condition. But there's also another possible route to this, or another way of thinking about this, which is the cyborg and symbiosis concept. If humans are to become cyborg with the AI in the creative process, maybe authenticity or agency or intent could be delegated to the humans. Or they could play ping pong with each other to scaffold each other's ideas to have a shared authenticity or co-authenticity. I have no idea how this might turn out to be developed in the future. But one thing's for sure is that inward exploration and reflection will become more and more important going forward. When society will become more and more deprived of meaning, when entertainment will be more and more saturated with generated content, psychology and philosophy will become the key area of inquiry besides computer science and mathematics. I hope this video laid out some interesting questions for you to ask yourself. I wonder what you think about all of them. Please leave your ideas in the comments. And tell me what you like about this or what you don't like about it. Thank you. Bye-bye.